There are always going to be characters that show us that the system cannot fully eradicate difference. They just can't, because if they could, there would be no villains. But because these villains exist, we know that the system can't take them out, so the system can't take us out either.
We all probably remember, for lack of a better word, the yassified villains of our childhoods. Scar from The Lion King, Jafar from Aladdin, Prince John the Lion from Robin Hood, and Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. How about the seemingly sapphic Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty, Ursula the Sea Witch from The Little Mermaid, Mrs. Trunchbull from Matilda, the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, and Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians? It's long been pointed out that many of the most iconic evildoers in movies and television have seemed a little light in the loafers, possessing traits that just seem, well, gay. And we've often regarded that as a problem to fix, a literal villainization that has held the queer community back by presenting the same harmful stereotypes again and again. But according to our gay-ass guest, BJ Colangelo, entertainment journalist and co-host of the podcast This Ends at Prom, there may be a different way to look at it. For this Pride episode, she takes us through the history of these archetypes and some favorite examples, and together we discuss how these characters can actually serve, in more ways than one, as a beacon of strength, joy, and fun for queer people, far more than the kinds of villains that better reflect the actual depravity we see around us every day. I'm your host, Chelsey Weber-Smith, and this is American Hysteria. I am so excited to welcome one of my most favorite repeat guests, our very special Pride guest, BJ Colangelo. Thank you for being here and for being gay.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to be here and be gay.
It's up to me.
You are the arbiter of gay. I don't know if you were informed.
No, but I'm glad to hear it, and I will wield this with absolutely no responsibility.
There was a vote. So sorry you were not informed.
I've got a wand, and I will be pointing it around this month. So look out, people. Well, I came to you pretty recently, BJ, and I was like, I want to do a Pride episode because I didn't plan a Pride episode. And then I was like, it's BJ. It's got to be BJ. I knew you'd have something good for us. And I was just happy to hear that you kind of already had a little presentation that would be very applicable to this show. So will you tell us what we're going to be talking about today?
Today, we are going to be talking about the history of and reclaiming queer villainy in media.
Yes. When you said that, I was like, this is it. This is for me. This is perfect. And I knew that our audience would really enjoy this this kind of hot take from you.
It is a little bit of a hot take, but you know, cinema has a long history of queer coding its villains. And I think when people around our age or close to it think about queer coding of villainy, the first thing that people think of are like Disney villains, right? Because so many Disney villains are just so gay. And for a lot of us, it's characters that we first saw ourselves in as we were children. And as you grow older, you can kind of internalize some of those messaging of like, oh no, this character that I feel seen by is the bad guy. Does that mean I'm bad?
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, well, why am I the lion from Robin Hood right now?
Why am I a sea witch trying to steal voices? Where did this come from?
I could really see you idolizing Ursula. I see it. I see it in you.
Anytime I go to Disneyland, I make sure to go on the Little Mermaid ride, which is just one of those you sit in a car and they take you through a world of animatronics because it's the one place where I can see Ursula.
No, it's a good ride, though.
It is. It's very beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I like the kids' rides because they're so relaxing. Like the Peter Pan ride, gorgeous.
Yeah, we love it. We love to be able to just kind of sit and chill and hear fun music and look at really cool animatronics that are not all that uncanny.
Yeah, and speaking of another queer villain, I remember when I went to Disneyland for the first time when I was 5, I got the shit scared out of me on the Alice in Wonderland ride when the queen comes and is about to chop your head off. I was very, very upset for probably like an hour, and then I forgot about it, but it really got me. So I don't know exactly how she's queer coded, but I feel that she is like maybe like a lesbian softball coach gone mad.
She falls under a very similar umbrella to like the Trunchbull from Matilda, just like the overbearing, mean woman with a barrel chest, like very lesbian coded. Even if she's wearing that big dress, like, nah, she's a mean lesbian and she's gonna kill you.
No, someone forced her to wear that dress.
Right, she did not choose this. That's just the uniform.
No, she did not. Okay, so yeah, this is gonna be. I'm really excited because I don't really know this history, which feels pretty surprising. But yeah, where do you think we should start?
So I think the first thing that we need is a little bit of a vocabulary lesson, which is to use 3 specific definitions that we're going to kind of be fluctuating between. The first is canonical queerness. This character's gay. It's not hinted at. It's not up to interpretation. It's not existing in a way that allows viewers to have plausible deniability. They're gay, or, you know, whatever letter of the LGBTQIA plus umbrella they fall under. So that's important. Then there's queer coding, the attribution of stereotypically queer traits to fictional characters. They don't explicitly state their gender and sexual identity. And this can be done in both good faith and bad faith. I think that's something important that people forget, is sometimes they view queer coding as inherently a bad thing, and that's not always the case.
Before you go on, let me ask one clarifying question for that category. Is there an intention behind that? Usually, like, are they saying we're going to put these kind of queer traits on this character in a covert way, or is it more like those things are being projected onto it, either by the filmmakers or by the audience?
So the answer is both, and we will get into that a little bit when we start really pulling apart the history.
Okay, great.
And then the third one is everyone's favorite word to misuse, which is queer baiting. And queer baiting is very specifically a manipulative marketing technique in media and entertainment, where creators will intentionally hint at a character or a celebrity's same-sex attention or non-heterosexual identity to audiences for profit without ever following through. But it's very important to remember, like, real people cannot queer bait. Marketing teams, however, can. Okay. But real people cannot.
I like that.
Yeah, people kind of get it in their head a lot. We're seeing this a lot right now with everybody who's still under heated rivalry psychosis of thinking that, well, because Hudson Williams has a girlfriend and is therefore and is like a little femme and is comfortable talking about sex, he's queer baiting. And it's like, that's not what that means, actually, but sure.
That's just him being a guy who is a person who has traits.
He's just comfortable. Queer people do not have a monopoly on being comfortable talking about sex. We just don't. I'm so sorry. Whoever told you that we did, we do not.
BJ, I watched 30 minutes of heated rivalry and I was like, I don't think I can watch this. I feel bad about it because everybody loves it.
I'm sad to hear it because you're missing out on some good stuff, some really good stuff.
All right, I'll try it again. You
got to try it again.
That you need to. I've heard you need to stick it out for a little bit.
You do,
because things need to get their footing, especially Canadian shows, which I love.
We're dealing with long form storytelling here.
That's right. You're right.
And so before I dive into, my defense of queer villainy, we do have to acknowledge up front that, like, yeah, there are cons of queer coding. It pushes characters and our stories into the margins. It promotes subconscious associations, like we were talking about earlier, like, why am I a sea witch? It can reinforce stereotypes. It can homogenize our experiences. It can distort our self-perception. All of those things are true. So, like, this is an instance where we are holding multiple truths at the same time. Yes, of course, there is a surface level reading to queer villainy of, like, yeah, this is bad. This is implying that we are bad.
Yes.
Not trying to deny that. But what I am saying is that we as queer people can find ways to see ourselves in these characters in ways that we can reclaim, that do make us feel good, that do not make us feel bad. There are so many things in the world right now trying to make us feel bad. So why don't we take a little bit more control over our destinies?
I like that. And I think, the characters that feel the most damaging to me, if we look back, are, Buffalo Bill and the characters that created the association between like serial killers and trans women and all of those things that we have talked about on this show before. I feel that you and Harmony have been on this show and we've talked about these very things before.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad we're acknowledging it up front because like that stuff has been obviously really harmful and it continues to happen, but we're gonna put some of those feelings aside and explore some other parts of this kind of story that has been told. So we got our language out of the way. Where are we going next?
Let's go in the history. So historically speaking, queer coding as a practice really first came to light during everyone's favorite time period of the Hays Code, the Hays Production Code from 1934 to 1968. Queer coding at this point was done when queerness was outlawed or controversial. And while it's very easy to see that the Hays Code forcing punishment for queerness, for those who are unfamiliar with the Hays Code, homosexuality, any sort of queerness was considered a physical or physiological illness in the 20th century. And so this self-imposed production code that impacted all of entertainment, it essentially legislated any queer presence out of existence. Homosexuality was not explicitly banned in the Hays text, but it was mandated that no pictures shall be produced that will lower the moral standards of those who see it, which would include queerness. If you are to show these characters, they have to be punished in some way, a way to punish them for their deviance, adding this moral code.
Right.
But there were a lot of gay people who worked in the industry before the Hays Code and during the Hays Code. So they wanted to see themselves depicted on screen in whatever way they could. They wanted to show stories that were relatable to their stories in whatever way they should. So that's when they started queer coding and they started including this in here.
Right. So tell me again, when did the Hays Code start?
1934.
So it's like right as the pansy craze is ending.
Yes.
So it's like we've talked about this on the show. It was like almost normalized, like this kind of on-screen in theater queerness. And it was a lot more embraced than we really have a cultural memory of, I think. So it's pretty upsetting that it just slammed down so hard, like right as that was kind of petering out. It's a bummer.
Totally. I mean, if you look, I love looking at like pre-code movies from the 1920s and the early 1930s where women are really feisty and they talk back to men. Like that all kind of goes away once the Hays Code gets put in here.
Yeah, well, it was feminism, right? We were like,
right, how dare we?
No more. Yeah.
We just let you broads vote. Now you want to talk? Get out of here.
Oh, it's true.
Oh, God. So, I mean, during this time period, for many, many years, people looked back at the history of these queer-coded characters, which are most obvious in horror movies because horror is the most prolific and profitable genre that we've ever had in cinema. It never goes away. It always makes money. People always go to see them. And a lot of people were under the impression that these queer-coded villains were a way to paint queer people as devious or bad. But then you look at somebody like James Whale. Chelsey, do you know who James Whale is?
I don't.
James Whale is the director of Frankenstein, The Old Dark House, The Invisible Man, and The Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's also a flaming homosexual and like not secretly, not like one of those like, ooh, eligible bachelor kind of stories. Like everyone in the industry knew he was gay. So he incorporated queer characters, queer actors in all of his movies. So even characters that weren't written to be gay ended up being a little fruity on screen. And
sure,
this happened over and over again throughout the horror genre where either queer stories, because horror has always been queer. All of like the foundational texts in horror are queer tinged in some way. That lays the groundwork for movies, for all of cinema, for what a villain looks like. Because every villain that is being written or being produced after, the 1930s, after basically the Universal monsters. Universal monsters are our building blocks to all forms of villainy that we see today on screen.
Right.
There is queer coding that is inherent to all of them. You can make the through line between Bela Lugosi's Dracula and the way that Morticia Addams is shot in the Addams Family movie with the light across her eyes. They're all in conversation with each other. So this goes to the question you asked earlier with canonical queerness, like, is it intentional? Is it not intentional? The answer is we can't always tell, because the queerness is inherent to a lot of these characters. They are the building blocks. So it's sort of baked in. So there are definitely people who make intentional decisions, like a Morticia Addams. That is a very intentional homage to Dracula. But sometimes they don't know that they're making a queer-coded villain, because that's just what the villain is. That's just the building block. That's the formula.
Right. Okay. Yes, I got you.
Yeah. And so then you also have people like Andreas Deha. Andreas Deha is a legendary Disney animator who worked throughout the Renaissance. And so many of the villains that he created, your Scars, your Jafars, like these kinds of characters, are so clearly queer coded, because you have to remember, this is somebody who would have grown up having their diet of movies formed by stuff that was produced during the Hays Code, like when queerness was canonical. So that's going to have a trickle down effect into the way that he's going to draw these villains. He's going to pull from the villains he loved seeing when he was younger, who happened to be queer coded villains. So that's why it keeps happening, even though now queer people, and like there is, obviously we're still under attack at any given moment. Let's not be, foolish about this.
Yeah. Let's be very clear. Yeah.
But there is an increased acceptance, and yet we still see this sort of coding happening with these characters. And it's because it is foundational to filmmaking. It is foundational to storytelling.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And I'm just thinking about Scar. He's just so gay. How could a lion be gayer? And, I think he's kind of hot.
You know what? I see it. I really do.
I'm just going to be brave here today, this Pride Month, and not give any fuel to our enemies by saying I think this evil cartoon lion is hot.
I mean, he's surrounded by idiots, and girl, if that's not relatable.
I mean, come on. But yeah, Jafar as well. I mean, these characters are just so like a part of me now, and you as well, that I feel like I act out their mannerisms in my own life or something. It's so true that these things just layer on top of each other, and it maybe isn't this always intentional, like we are going to create this villain that will represent the people that we find unsavory, and there's some kind of like creative conspiracy happening there. Like what you're saying makes so much more sense to me.
Totally. And I mean, they're just fun. Like we're going to get to that in a little bit. They're just fun.
More after this. And now back to the show.
So there's a couple different categories of queer-coded villains. Obviously, it's very expansive, but you can sort of boil down any queer-coded villain to a specific archetype. The first one would be dandy baddies or sissies and pansies. These are men who are failures of the patriarchy in some way. It does not matter how many women that they are shown canoodling with. You do not buy this for a second. These are male characters that you would watch and likely ask your friend, like, do you think he's, like one of those? And, this representation really does run the gamut of masculinity. You can have these like restrained, refined men like Brandon Shaw and Philip Morgan in Alfred Hitchcock's Rope themselves are iterations of Leopold and Loeb. Or you can have Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Like that's the range we're talking about here for these characters.
Yes, Pennywise is so gay. That's why I see myself in him so much.
I love him.
But dandy baddies is what you said.
Yes.
That's great.
Dandy baddies. This would also include like your Billy and Stu and Scream. All these boys are all under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
Then we also have predatory hags and other lesbians. Witches are inherently lesbians. If they are successful at feminine presentation, it is weaponized. These are often characters that are depicted as insatiable, as reflected by their predatory or sadistic nature. They are also cautionary tales for men as examples of women to avoid. And they are warnings for women of who they should not become, which is why hags, witches, black widows, they're all under that same umbrella as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what characters that come to mind for you when you think of this category?
I mean, this Ursula falls under here, of course, but you could also have like Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers is one of these characters.
Okay, yes.
Any witch you've ever seen falls under this as well.
Would you say that like the witches of Hocus Pocus could fall in this category? Okay.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. And I would say all of them, save for maybe Sarah, because Sarah falls under the next category, which would be disaster bisexuals.
Ooh, yes.
Disaster bisexuals. These are characters that cause chaos with their quote unquote confusion. They are typically portrayed as erratic and sexually promiscuous. They are always unfathomably hot. The bisexuals like really win the war in terms of representation here, because at least they're always hot.
And they always are.
They always are. Like you watch Basic Instinct and it's like, I know you're supposed to be the villain. However, I'd love to be you. This is great.
Yes.
And they're always seen as instruments of corruption. Their bisexuality is going to corrupt the innocent straights in some way, shape, or form with said hotness.
Because it would be corrupting either way, right? Because I feel like the bisexual still corrupts the straight man in some way.
Correct. Exactly. See, you're picking up.
I'm getting it.
These are all things we're familiar with. We just might not have ever had a way to like put the language towards it.
Yes, absolutely.
And then a topic that I know you've talked about on the show before, the final one are killer cross-dressers. They're cross-dressing. They're villains. They're overly pathologized. They are often name checked in place of actual real life events by the government when they try to demonize trans people because the president is addicted to TV. That's why Trump talks about Hannibal all the time, Hannibal Lecter. And that's why bathroom bills, when they first started happening, people used to call them Buffalo Bills. Like, yeah, that's what people are looking towards. A lot of people use shorthand to talk about trans panic by referring to movies because the majority of people, unfortunately, don't know trans people in real life.
Right. And now this is bringing to mind when Trump brought up, what's his name from American Psycho? Oh,
like Patrick Bateman?
Yeah, who feels like a dandy.
He's a dandy baddie. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. God. Wild. What a crazy time we live in, BJ.
It's truly ridiculous. And this is another reason why I like to learn about this sort of stuff, understand how it fits in my world, because if I'm being affected by it, I'm only being affected by it because other people are perceiving it and putting it into action. And if I'm going to combat that, I need to understand how these people think.
Totally. And our killer cross-dressers mentioned Buffalo Bill. Who else do we have?
Oh, I mean, Norman Bates is a big one. Yep. Dressed to Kill, Angela Baker.
Mother.
Angela's also her own unique case for a number of reasons. But pretty much anybody who is revealed to be cross-dressing in some way, they all fall under this.
And Angela Baker, for anyone who doesn't know, is
from Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah. And I know that you and your wife, Harmony, wrote a book. So push that really quick.
Oh, yeah, we sure did. We wrote a book. It's called Sleepaway Camp. It's available through the Die Books publication. And it is all about looking at the history of that movie and its unintentional place as a pillar of queer horror, because it was never meant to be. But for the longest time, it was one of the only trans representations in horror that people had. And so it's got a very interesting history, and we dive into that.
You guys are so cool.
You're so cool.
Stop it. I love that movie.
And I do too. And something that I know you will love is that there is one character that embodies every single category of queer villainy, and that is our good friend, Dr. Frankenfurter. Dr. Frankenfurter is all of these characters. It just rolled into one.
We're just so lucky.
We really are. Like the center of the Venn diagram, you know, the center square, Hollywood Squares, is Dr. Frankenfurter of queer villainy. And that just tickles me to no end.
Yeah, and it's like depending on the outfit, really.
Yes, exactly. So going through kind of our history, this became like the dominant thing. Villains, by and large, were always queer coded in some way, shape, or form, with few exceptions. Like if you look at the American Film Institute's like their top 5 villains, cinematic villains over 100 years, that's Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, who is a predatory lesbian.
Absolutely.
The Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz, which is a predatory lesbian. Norman Bates, a cross-dressing killer. And Hannibal Lecter, a dandy baddie. The one exception is Darth Vader, who I do think is aggressively straight, but there is still something to be said. There is a coding, there is a read that can exist to make a character like Darth Vader a little fruitier. That, of course, exists.
Is it the outfit?
I think it's the outfit. It's the fact that it's a man giving a voice to another man. There's a cape involved. There's like something a little S&M about him. Like there's things that we could say.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
But what I find so fascinating about those villains is that if we look over time, those exact villains, save for Darth Vader, have been remade in recent-ish years and only made to be gayer. Sarah Paulson plays Nurse Ratched on the Ratched TV series from Ryan Murphy. Cynthia Erivo plays the Wicked Witch. The Norman Bates and Bates Motel, they really hammer home a lot more of the cross-dressing. And then, of course, Brian Fuller's Hannibal Lecter with Mads Mikkelsen. Like, they just got gayer as time went on.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Wow, yeah.
And so since this has been, so prominent, in recent years, there has been a lot of like well-intended course corrections is what I will say. There's been such a pushback against queer-coded villains that we've seen people really try to say like, no, we're not like this. We're better than this. And sometimes it looks like a movie like They/Them, which subverts the slasher formula by not killing any queer characters, or in retconned origin stories like Cruella that subvert the villainy into a matter of being misunderstood.
Right.
So this is a thing that happens a lot. But, and here's where we're going to pull the pin out and let all of the hot takes now start to flow.
Here we go.
This trend of defanging villains into misunderstood outsiders feeds into the myth of model minorities, because the message becomes, whether explicit or implicit, this consistent idea of, quote, we're just like you. This is toxic positivity that was touted during the quest for marriage equality. And the hope is that people will believe us and that we'll be granted more acceptance for fulfilling our demands of assimilation.
Damn. You said it.
Yeah, because the problem that arises from this is that it perpetuates this false assumption that all queer people are craving entry into heteronormative spaces. And the cost of doing so at the door is adopting their values, especially tied to traditional gender norms and participation in creating the cycle of perpetuating the cycle of the nuclear family. And the reality is that for the overwhelming majority of us, that is a box that we're never going to fit into, no matter how hard we try. And we're never going to actually be just like them because we're not like them. And that's okay.
Yeah. And they're never, they're never going to see us like that. Like, it's not going to work. It might work for certain people. But I mean, just the other day, I don't remember who the fuck it was, but that politician was like, homosexuality has no place in America. It's like, whoa, we're going all the way back there right now. And then he's like, no, it was a staffer who said it. And it's like, okay
sure, Jan.
It's just like, we can make all this progress, but there are like a large amount of people in this country that are never going to grant us acceptance, no matter how perfectly we act, no matter whether we join up in their fascist movement. Yeah. They're still not, like, there's no way to get there. And continuing to try to bash our heads against that wall is probably going to be a big waste of our energy, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Or fortunately, because we don't want to be part of them. So
right. Like, why we don't want to become the oppressive class. We just don't. And when you are pushing to be more like them, you are essentially like, I would like to align with our oppressors, please. Like, we don't want that. And I think it's also really important, especially as queer people having this conversation, that we remember that as much as there's this pressure from, the oppressive systems and the status quo for us to be this way, this pressure doesn't come solely from the outside. It also echoes within our community. This is where we're seeing a lot of queer creatives, we're seeing this a lot in like literary spaces, but a lot of queer creatives fear that by portraying morally complex characters, that's going to be weaponized against us in public discourse or even legal settings. A lot of queer authors, artists, and filmmakers who dare to write these complicated characters, they are often harassed by the media illiterate, the historically ignorant, and tragically, the understandably terrified. Like, I understand why, say, 14-year-olds on Tumblr are going to be like, why would you have this character do this? This is so problematic. Therefore, you are problematic. I understand why the mentality is that way, but that's actually not going to help any of us in the long run. It's actually a very bad way for us to be thinking and engaging with media.
Sure. Yeah, no. And I mean, it is really understandable. It's understandable to want to try to assimilate. And for any of our listeners that feel like, we're just a gay couple and we are normal, we're just like everybody else, I understand that feeling. And that's also like an okay way, as long as you're not becoming a fascist slowly. Don't do that. But, it makes these things all make sense because they're coming from a place of being constantly terrified all the time because of what's happening around us. So it's like, I think it is really important. And you are doing that to just point out that like these things that we do and that even our allies do are all coming from the right place in a way. But it's just, it is this kind of like waves hitting a wall again and again and again, where it's like, we're not going to be able to get to where we want to go because we won't be allowed ever to truly get there. And so, it's maybe just a better option to let our freak flag fly and take care of each other that way.
Absolutely. And I mean, this pressure for queer characters or even queer coded characters to perform virtue in fiction for the sake of acceptance, we have to remind ourselves that like this fear of being seen as the villain, it stems from this belief that dominant culture's moral boundaries are fixed and universal, which we know is not true. We evolve as cultures, we change as cultures, things change all the time, but believing that a moral boundary is fixed, this is what fuels like respectability politics.
Right.
It's a framework that will always demand conformity in exchange for tolerance, and then it leaves those who don't or can't conform to be even further marginalized.
Yeah, you nailed it.
And so like, that's kind of like the heady thing that's underneath all of this. And we can use that as our foundation. That I think is like our rock solid foundation. And then we can have a little bit more fun with it, because the thing too is like villains are just better when they're a little fruity. Like they're just better. They're more fun. They're more iconic. People like them so much more. Like, And it exists throughout all time and all ages. Chelsey, are you familiar with the Bailey School Kids books?
I'm familiar with them, but I didn't read them. They were like pretty popular when we were growing up, right? Like 90s era.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is a very famous Tumblr post that I love where they are looking at all of the cover art for the Bailey School Kid books. And for those who don't, they might not know the Bailey School Kid books, but these are books like Dracula doesn't drink lemonade, genies don't ride bicycles, like those sorts of things.
Right.
Somebody once classified these book covers as alternate titles, Young Children Gawk at Flaming Homosexuals. Because every single character on these covers looks a little fruity. My, core memory pillar childhood favorite TV show as a kid was Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Me too.
And Dr. Vink and Sardo, there is no heterosexual explanation for them. I'm just sorry.
No,
There's isn't.
And they're really the only repeating characters aside from the Midnight Society.
Yes.
They're like the ones who return again and again because we just want more of them.
Exactly.
Va, va, Vink. Yeah.
It's so like, it's not just, Disney villains. Like we are seeing this throughout all of our lives, but these become characters that we love and we love looking towards. And a reason that this works and like the reason that it is so much more fun to have these queer coded villains is that the LGBTQIA plus community is so diverse. And because of that, it allows for this very dynamic range of villainous styling, because right now we're in a push where we're getting a lot of villains based on like evil cisgender heterosexual tech lords.
Yeah.
And they're so boring. We might as well be watching the news. Like if the last decade has taught us anything, it is that the most cartoonishly evil people in the real world are painfully boring, unfunny, uninteresting losers, which makes it even more insane that they have so much power because they're all charisma vacuums. If you're going to be an evil mastermind, have the common decency to come with a catchphrase. Like, how dare you?
They can't. That's the thing is they like, I think that this for me is also coming down to like the fact that like it is this like inversion of the real world, like the villains that they paint us as are not the villains that we see on the screen and TV. It's like much darker, in fact, the way that we are, considered to be these like child abusers and these like weird hypnotic people, these like Pied Pipers, these like very, very, very frightening ways that we are made into villains that feel scarier than being like even like Scar, fascist Scar from, but then our real villains are these like total like fucking blank walls of people that are so boring that we want to go into that mirror world almost. It's almost comforting that your villain would be this camp version of like evil, like a mustache twirling, like, cape flipping type of villain. It's like I would rather see myself in that than see myself in the way that the media is fucking talking about me, right?
See, and this is why I love you and you're one of my soulmates, because you just like set me up perfectly for my next point. So there is this incredible line from the book Monsters in the Closet, Homosexuality in the Horror Film by Dr. Harry Benshoff from 1997 that I love, while in talking, like comparing straight to queer villains here. While straight participants in such experiences usually return to their daylight worlds, both the monster and the homosexual are permanent residences of shadowy spaces, at worst caves, castles, and closets, and at best a marginalized and oppressed position within the cultural hegemony. Queer viewers are thus more likely than straight ones to experience the monster's plight in a more personal and individualized term.
Damn. Yes. Oh, I love that. That was so good.
We relate to these characters because we are meant to be treated like these characters.
Right.
Which is why, even if we don't want to, like, I think there's a little bit of anger sometimes where people are like, oh, growing up, I didn't get to be Ariel. I had to be Ursula, as if it's something bad. But it's like, no, we saw ourselves as Ursula because we're treated like Ursula.
Yeah.
We see ourselves in Scar because we're treated like Scar. And it's understandable that these characters are lashing out because in a lot of ways, they're fighting for things that like we wish we could fight for, but can't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's an incredibly astute point. Yes.
And there's power to be found in queer villainy, because when we see ourselves in these characters, we are seeing them because they are the embodiment of our fears and our feelings. The monster of all cultural imagination is born out of the anxieties, fears, and feelings that like culture as a whole has. If those feelings weren't real or tangible, there would be no need for these monsters to exist.
Right.
So clearly it's real.
Yeah.
There's also pride that I think can be found in alienation. A lot of these villains can be seen as like liberatory because they show that living outside of the existing system is possible, that you don't have to assimilate. You don't have to be part of this. Like, you can be Scar at the top of Pride Rock if you really want to.
Yeah.
And it means you're not falling in line.
Yeah.
Like there's something that's cool to be found there. I mean, there's empowerment in refusing to conform, because that reality is what terrifies the status quo. Because what if more people learn that you don't have to conform to the way things are and that it's a good thing to be different? Because the second you do that, those in power lose their ability to control the masses.
Totally. And it's like so many of these, I mean, if not all of these characters have this kind of like supernatural level of confidence too, where it's like this total self-possession. And, you know, you need that. Most villains in real life have that as well, I would say. But it's like seeing that is also really powerful, and imagining like, well, if I had, you know, as someone, I don't know about you, I grew up having a pretty serious lack of confidence. And so seeing, you know, something gay or like that, I wasn't quite understanding the way that I do now that these characters were kind of coded in some way as being queer, but like seeing that total self-possession is like something that we all kind of reached for and needed because the world was constantly telling us that we were, you know, gross or weird or wrong or just like should be like never seen in public.
Yes. And I mean, even the existence of these villains or these monsters is a reminder that all of these systems that we're stuck under, like heteronormativity and the gender binary and the patriarchy, like it's partial. Like there are always going to be characters that show us that the system cannot fully eradicate difference. They just can't, because if they could, there would be no villains. But because these villains exist, we know that the system can't take them out. So the system can't take us out either.
Ooh, that's cool.
I know. It's like, it's so easy to just be like, villain bad, that's bad. But like the more you sit with it and the more you really think about it, it's like, wait a second.
More after this. And now back to the show.
And so that gets me to, I want to talk about a movie that I don't know if you've seen, but if not, you know, I'll give people a primer. Have you ever seen Clive Barker's Nightbreed?
No, which I feel bummed out about.
Oh, you're going to love this. I believe the director's cut is still on Shudder, but Clive Barker, for those who don't know, is very famous for creating the Hellraiser franchise, that entire world, and drew inspiration directly from gay S&M and leather clubs that he frequented. That's why they all look like that, because it is fetish gear. Like, it's not subtle.
Okay, got it.
And the ultimate power in all of his stories are that when we, the outcasts, the marginalized, and the villainized work together. So the Nightbreed, this movie that I love, the titular Nightbreed are a collection of so-called monsters. They all have different appearances, different powers. They all come from different places around the world, and they've been ostracized by society and are deemed dangerous by quote unquote normal people. And so all of the Nightbreed have sort of built their own utopia underground in this place called Midian. Midian is where the monsters live. And of course, like, regular people find out about it and they want to destroy it, even though they're not hurting anybody. They're just living their lives in this gay, monstrous little commune. But normal people fear it and they're like, no, y'all got to go. I hate this. And there is this incredible moment where a woman, so like the whole story is that there's this guy who learns he's part of the Nightbreed. Like, he essentially learns later in life that he's part of the Nightbreed. It's very much a later in life coming out story. And his human girlfriend is hardcore ally, wants to help him, wants to get him to Midian, keep him safe. That's so nice. She is permitted to enter Midian, even though she's a human, because she's in love with this, you know, half monster man. And she's talking to somebody, one of the monsters in the Nightbreed. And the Nightbreed says, you call us monsters, but when you dream of flying and changing and living without death. You envy us. And what you envy, and then she replies, we destroy. And
damn,
like, God, he cooked so hard with Nightbreed. It's crazy. But it's so true. It's like there are these characters that, like, humanity tells you are meant to be villains, that are meant to be bad. And yet these are the characters, exactly like you said earlier, that we want to be. We want that confidence. We want to be strong and willing to, like, speak up for ourselves, even if we're wrong, but to be able to speak up for ourselves in the face of everybody else, to feel, you know, true and free in who we are, and, like, not feel the grip of society telling us we have to be a certain way. That's the thing we dream of. And of course, the status quo is going to be terrified of that and try to destroy that.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that.
It's so good. I mean, because the climax of the film it culminates in just an assault on the Nightbreed's home, because normies would rather kill them than try to understand them. And if that is not a relatable feeling, like, I do not know what is. I will never be able to relate to the normie status quo who wants to kill like the group of monsters. I will forever be the person wanting to save them.
Yeah.
So even though the movie paints them as villains, we know that that is not true. It's just not. And we can all, connect this to a favorite movie of you and I, is that we can look at something like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Mm-hmm. On paper, Dr. Frankenfurter is not a character that people would want to be associated with. He's homicidal and unhinged, and yet he's mesmerizingly charming to all the characters as well as to the audience members. And the Sexual Liberation started this tradition of yearly, sometimes monthly screenings of Rocky Horror that still go on 50 years later. And they're extremely queer positive, and they're body positive, and they're shameless events. And they often act as a meeting place for local queer communities, all built from an inverted legacy of queer-coded villainy. Like, one of our strongest pillars of building communities centers around embracing queer villainy. Like, so I'm just never going to be convinced that it's a bad thing.
I know. And it's like, I'm not going dressed as Brad or Janet.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, I often go as Rocky, but, I'm going to want to be Frankfurter. I'm going to want to be the gayest, most fun character that I can be, regardless of whether, it's a positive, I feel like, if I'm dressing up as a villain, because it's just more fun.
It just is. It is just more fun. And like, there's so many movies now that I think are doing a really good job at really like itemizing this out. So, because I can't remember if I had you watch this movie. Have you ever seen the movie Bit, starring Nicole Maines?
No.
Okay, so it's an indie vampire movie, but it stars Nicole Maines, who famously is like the first trans superhero. She's wonderful. I love her. She's great. But this is a movie about a young trans girl who moves to Los Angeles. And the first night she's in Los Angeles, she meets this like very cool, like intersectional feminist girl gang. And then it turns out they're all vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And they are vampires who intentionally target like unsavory men. Like, those are their victims. So they go after like people who troll on the internet. They go after people who commit, sex crimes. Like, that's who they go after. Cool. And their one rule is they never turn men because it gives them too much power. They already have power, and look what they've done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this great speech that Duke, the head of this vampire clan, gives when she's trying to convince Nicole Maines' character to join, where she's like, our bodies are suspect. The world has made us out to be monsters. So let's be monsters. Let's be gods. And that really resonates with me so deeply for all of the things that I've outlined out here, which is that society is always going to see us as monsters, even if I do everything, quote unquote, right. If I look the certain way, if I act a certain way, if I am the nice, quiet, kind, polite gay who doesn't hurt anyone, who doesn't, quote unquote, shove my beliefs down anyone's throats.
Yeah, even if you have a baby in what approximates a nuclear family, they're going to try to take that right away from you. Exactly. Even if you are the most, the most heteronormative gays you could possibly be, it's just not going to matter.
It's not going to matter because at the end of the day, like, they're not going to write legislation and be like, take rights from everybody except this really nice couple who lives down the road. Yeah. Like, that's not going to happen.
That's not how it works. No.
And so this isn't me saying, it's a call for all of us to be like horrible villains. We jokingly say like, the hashtag be gay, do crime kind of thing. But also maybe, be a little bit more ungovernable, be a little bit louder, stop caring so much. Like, they already see us as villains. So like, who cares? Like, wear what you want to wear. Do what you want to do. Be with the people you want to be with. They're going to think you're a monster otherwise. So stop being afraid of being seen as a monster and embrace it.
Ugh, this is cool. I'm into this. No, I mean, I think you're getting to something that feels a lot deeper than even I have, thought about the topic, because I think generally I have, as much as I've enjoyed queer villains, I've always been like, well, maybe this is damaging to like our PR as a like group of human beings, as if we should ever have to think about whether a fictional character is bad for our PR because we're afraid of our rights being taken away. I mean, that's ludicrous to have to think about. You know, it's not like men out there see these villains in these movies and are like, oh, this is bad PR for us as like men. You know, it's just because we are this minority, this oppressed group, and this group that has been turned into a folk devil again and again and again throughout history that we even have to have this conversation. We wouldn't be having this conversation if, you know, and as you've mentioned, the villains are turning a little bit more into those types of men, but there's not going to be very many. I'm sure there are some, but there's not going to be, you know, if you're not like a weird incel, there's probably not going to be a lot of thought happening because you don't need to think about it. There's no reason for you to have to think, oh, that villain on the screen in this fucking Marvel movie is going to make people even more mad at men. You know, they don't have to think about that.
Exactly. Like, they don't have to think about that with actual crime statistics. Like,
no.
The overwhelming number of people who commit mass shootings are men. And when has that ever hurt their PR? The answer is never. It has never affected their PR.
But then there's someone who may be ambiguously, potentially genderqueer in some way. And it's like, see?
Yes. it's like, and that is exactly like kind of was at the heart of this entire argument that I have, where it's like, we have proof that they do this with real people, where they take one person and then paint all of us with that brush. They're going to do that no matter what. So if we're going to be seen as these villains in movies, I'm not going to be afraid of them. I know how you see me. And you know what? I would much rather you see me as Jennifer Check in Jennifer's Body. That means I'm cool and hot. Oh, no. What a terrible existence.
You know, real people think that about you anyway. They just
maybe
envy
I do think
you.
I do think they very much see me as Ursula, which is fine. I think she's amazing.
Ursula, also hot.
Also hot. I get yassified Beetlejuice a lot, which I will never take that as an insult.
You shouldn't. Oh, yeah. And I mean, something else that just like popped into my head, right, is just like all the stuff that we recently re-released our Gay Agenda episode, and going through all of the cartoonish ways that we were made into villains through these moral panics that had absolutely no basis in reality, yet felt so cinematic. Like I remember there was the urban legend that Pat Robertson loved to tell about how queer men were wearing rings on their hands that would, and if they shook your hand, there was like a little prick, like something that could prick you and then infect you with HIV, and that gay men were just going about being like these evil villains, pricking people by shaking their fucking hands and giving them HIV. And it's like, that is so dark, Pat. Like, that is so much darker than any of these movie representations. And then it was Bill O'Reilly who was talking about how there were these like roving gangs of lesbians that were preying on young women and carrying around pink pistols. The pink pistols is kind of cool, but like, you know, they're going to do this.
I'm not against this.
Those things don't actually have precedent in cinema either. It's not like they're getting their ideas for moral panics from movies. Like, they're coming up with them in their own twisted, bizarro, like Hall of Mirror brains that they have. It's not like they're watching these movies and being like, excellent, I can now design my next moral panic based on this character in a Disney movie.
Yes. And this is exactly why I wanted to bring this topic to you, because I knew that you would like start putting the little strings together of being like, but wait a second, these freaks already do this. They already make up stories about us.
Yeah. And it's sometimes I'm like, write a script. Like, that's
honestly,
just go write a script.
Knowing how many of like the MAGA influencers are failed filmmakers, buddy, channel it differently.
Is that a thing?
Do you not know about Ben Shapiro's failed attempt to be a filmmaker?
No, I do not know about that.
I am going to send you some homework after this recording.
Okay, great. Oh, no, but I mean, we know that failed artists often become supervillains. I can think of one in particular.
Yeah.
In real life. This is a very interesting interesting thing. And I do have to say, this is veering very far off, but I would be remiss not to mention who I do feel like might be one of the original queer villains in, let's say, fiction. Do you know who I'm thinking of?
Are you thinking of Frankenstein?
Way farther back. I'm thinking of Judas.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Judas. Yeah. Kissing his, polyamorous boyfriend and sending him to the very gay Romans / Jewish authorities, right? It's like it all comes back to that. But I don't think Judas was seen as queer coded back then, probably.
Well, thankfully, Jesus Christ Superstar fixed that for all of us.
Yes, thank God. Wow. Yeah. So I mean, this has been going on for a while, I guess.
It's never not been going on is really what it is. Like, it's literally never not been going on.
Totally. And I even think of there was a book written in the 90s. I cannot remember the author, but it was an anti-gay book. It could have been like James Dobson or someone like that. But it was about trying to recast the Nazis as gay men.
Ooh.
So it's even this this revisionist history version of trying to take this ultimate group of villains, like cultural, real life villains, and then making them gay by like projecting it onto the past. So it's like, this is the kind of thing that the people who are against our existence are doing. It's much more sinister than the kind of camp villains that we have representing us in these movies.
Yes, the camp villains who almost all of the time were created by other queer people who were just trying to see themselves in some way. And they're like, well, I'm going to have to die at the end of this, but you know what? We're going to have a good time until it happens. Like, that's where it all comes from.
Yeah. And I do think it does all come back to camp, because it is like, to see a villain as this drag version of villainy feels so much better than watching the real world play out on the screen, which is what we're often trying to kind of step back from. We're going to want to see like the biggest, most hilarious and overblown version of what evil is. We're not going to want to see necessarily like the board of Palantir sitting in their boardroom and discussing the next insidious use of AI.
Totally. I mean, did you watch The Boys at all?
I didn't, no. You're bringing me all these things. I'm just like, no, I haven't seen it.
Well, The Boys is very much a superhero satire of our real world. And so many people were like, well, the last season was really bad. And it's like, well, yeah, because we live in a world beyond satire now. Like, there's only so much they can do before they're just directly quoting Elon Musk.
Dude, for sure. Yeah. And so I guess in defense of queer villains, I don't want to see those motherfuckers any more than I absolutely have to.
Yes, exactly. Because I feel pride when I see a queer villain, because I know we're not actually the villains. This is actually fiction. This is not real. When you show me a villain that is just a thinly veiled version of somebody like Peter Thiel, it's real. And I don't want this. It's not fun for me.
And it's scary in a way that is like actually traumatizing, whereas like generally some people go to the movies to be traumatized. I personally do not. I do not go to the movies to be traumatized. And so I just think it makes sense, because it's like, what's the alternative with a villain? It's like we kind of only have these two options culturally in this script to pull from. Or like, are we going to go with the fake kind of overblown villain? Or are we going to go with the real villain that's going to make you leave the theater and feel absolutely hopeless?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And not to say it wouldn't be fun to watch those types of characters get like smashed up by the hero and everything. But, it just... I am just feeling very much more like I would like to watch a queer person be fun and evil and camp for sure.
It would be really nice if evil felt fun and not the crushing reality plaguing every second of our waking existence.
Yeah, and it's like art is supposed to reflect the world. We know that, but it's also supposed to create the worlds that we feel safer and more comfortable in, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, BJ. Well, this was a blast. Such a good time with this, obviously. I'm giggling like a schoolboy over here. But yes, thank you for bringing your always very well thought out hot takes. I always enjoy what you bring to this show and what you bring to all of the work that you do. So thank you again. This is just so great.
Oh, thank you for always letting me be a hashtag bad gay live for all to hear.
You are not a bad gay. You're just a gay. And we should all be so lucky.
Agreed.
This was American Hysteria. Make sure you subscribe to one of my favorite podcasts, This Ends at Prom, and go to bjcolangelo.com to see more of BJ's work. Link in the episode notes. If you want to support our show and help us to continue making it, you can become a patron at patreon.com/American Hysteria or by subscribing on Apple Plus. You'll get ad-free episodes as well as bonus content, like the other podcasts that I do with our producer Miranda, where we tell you stories related to the topics that we cover and stories that we know that you'll love. We've got a really big back catalog, so as soon as you subscribe, you'll have hours upon hours of the kind of stories that you hear on this show. That's patreon.com/American Hysteria or subscribe on Apple Plus. Another great way to support our show is to leave us a 5-star review on whatever app you use. It's really easy. You could do it right now, and it would make me really happy. And it's Pride Month, so you should be doing things for me. You can also go to AmericanHysteria.com to pick up some of our merch. As always, 100% of those profits go to the Samir Project, a Palestinian-led mutual aid group in Gaza. You can also leave us a message on the Urban Legends hotline about a tale that you remember from growing up or one you've heard recently, and we might do an entire investigation about it, and you'll hear your own story on the show told in your own voice. American Hysteria is produced and edited by Miranda Zickler. Our associate producer is Riley Swedelius Smith. This episode has additional editing by Kaylee Jasperson, and I'm your host, Chelsey Weber-Smith. Thanks, as always, for listening, and I hope you have a great Pride Month.